Good evening and welcome to the Lower Makefield Township, January of 2022 Park and Rec Advisory Board meeting. Welcome and Happy New Year, everybody. Our first order of business is to call to order of the meeting. So welcome. Second order roll call for tonight. I see so far in the meeting we have members of the board, Michael Blundy, Michael Brody, Dennis Wasaki. Also in attendance is myself, Doug Kraus. We also have our Director of Park and Rec, Monica Tierney, and on the line is our Board of Supervisor Liaison, James McCartney. Currently absent right now is Dave Malinowski, Kim Rock, and Rob Labar. The first order of business will be the approval of the meeting minutes from October of 2021 and November of 2021. December, we did not have a meeting. So first order of business will be approval of the October meeting minutes. Does anybody have any comments or changes they would like to make or offer up for the October meeting minutes? If no changes, anybody would like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
And do we have any seconds?
A second.
All right, all in favor of approving the October meeting minutes, say aye, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Hey Doug, before you go on, Monica, were there packages sent out for this meeting?
They were in an email. The meeting minutes were in an email, Dennis?
No paper packages?
No
paper packages for this one. No, I sent an email and then individual text to each board member to look out for the email.
Doug, I don't think we can vote on November because I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't think I can vote on it. And then we only have 3 people voting on it. Is that, Monica, are you allowed to vote?
You were not at the meeting, and that would leave 3, which would not leave a quorum to approve the November meeting minutes. So we can table that until February meeting.
All right, thanks.
Right, Monica, our second order of business is our annual organizational part of this meeting where we identify this coming year's chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Yes. So would you like me to take over to do the chair portion?
Or we'll do the start off with the chair.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion or recommendation for chair?
Nominate Doug to continue as chair.
Does anybody second? I hear second. So first from Dennis, second from Mike Brody. Are any comments or questions?
Any other nominations?
Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Doug, you can take back over.
All right.
Nice job, Monica.
Thank you. Our next position that we will accept nominations for is the vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? I nominate Michael Brody.
Second. Or you actually probably want to ask for other nominations first. I'm sorry.
Any comments? Any other nominations?
I think Michael would be a fun choice.
All in favor of Michael Brody as vice chair?
Aye.
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 Great. Congratulations, Michael. And the third position is secretary. Do we have any nominations of secretary for the 2022 calendar year?
Who's left?
We have Kim, we have Mike, we have Rob, and we have David. And Kim is the current secretary.
Oh, she's done a fine job. I would nominate Kim again.
I'll nominate Kim.
So
yeah, second.
Can we do anything if she hasn't? I mean, I guess we could approve her or vote for her in absentia and just make sure she's okay with it, right?
I think that's fine. If she chooses to decline after the fact, we can reopen the nominations at the next meeting. So any other nominations or comments? If so, if none, so do we have a vote for Kim for secretary? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so Monica, there we go.
Right, all set.
All right, so if, Nick, if you want to let Ann into the meeting, Ann Tool Consulting is up next to give us an update on our Park and Rec needs assessment. Hi, Ann, welcome, Happy New Year, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Diane.
Hi, Ann.
I am.
Hi, everybody.
So Ann is here today. We've been going through the process, as you might have seen in the public. We've done a really amazing survey. We've gotten a lot of responses, and we'll talk to you a little bit about progress today. We have a meeting coming up on February 3rd for the community as a community forum that we plan to do via Zoom. It'll be a hybrid meeting as of today is what we're thinking will be. Really looking forward to hear feedback from the community. So I hope people get involved with that process. We're also doing a meeting with all of the league heads, and we'll be doing individual conversations with some community leaders. And so here's Ann to kind of update you on progress and process and how things are going.
Great. Hi. So do we have a dozen people on? Is that right?
We have 4
Half of them are just working.
and board of supervisor, myself, and then everybody else on there, and is support.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, it's just such a delight to be here. I've met many of you before. It's not my first rodeo here. A while ago, it was around 1995, we did the Parks and Recreation Plan. And I was on the trolley tour where I got to meet a lot of you and see most of the facilities firsthand. So I am honored and excited to be here. So thank you for having me. And we look forward to a pretty quick turnaround on this plan. The purpose of the plan is to create a 10-year action plan that's strategic so that you know what you want to do over the next 10 years based on a combination that is both visionary yet practical and achievable. We really pride ourselves here on having plans implemented. And we actually see a lot of our plans being implemented as the planning is underway. It is very exciting. I think back to our earlier plan where recommendations included the preservation of Patterson Farm, the upgrading of the pool, looking at securing the land and looking for a potential golf course that became Makefield Highlands. We recommended the professionalization of the department, and you could see all that Monica brought with that. Look at the difference in the past couple of years. So this township is really a happening place. There's a lot going on. What we want to look forward to over the next few months is we'll start with the end in mind here. We would like to go to the Board of Supervisors in March to present our recommendations. We fully intend to keep everybody in the loop between now and March, so there will be no surprises. We never like to surprise anybody. We like to be very transparent in the process. So we'll be looking at everything based on all of the extensive work that Monica has been doing to prepare for your CAPRA certification. Big hats off to you for that. You will be the first department in Pennsylvania to achieve that prestigious recognition. It's a chore to do this. Most departments don't have the gumption or the will or the expertise to pull it off. And here, Lower Makefield will be leading the charge. So that's why we're really hustling to get this in place. But we have a lot to work with. You all have been accomplishing a lot over the past years. Monica has been doing the organizational development, the policy establishment, all of those things that are crucial to the effective operation of a department. So those are the goals in mind. And I want to thank you for doing your homework. We're going to be going over your assessment of what you think works, what could work better, and what we really want to focus on over the next few months to get you going for your new adventure in 2022. But I'd really like to hear how you all are. If you could introduce yourselves to me and tell me why you're interested in working on this plan. So who can we start with here? Dennis, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, fine. Actually, my hand was up for a different reason.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
So it was like, I just wanted to follow up on the comment you made when you said we'll be the first department in Pennsylvania. Did you mean the first department within Lower Makefield to be?
No, no. Out of all 2,562 municipalities, you will be the only one to achieve that status so far. And I think what you will do is you will set in motion others to follow. So you are truly, you're revolutionary in what you're doing. And by undertaking this, you'll not only help your own community, but you're going to help Pennsylvania at large because you're taking this brave step forward. It's a really big deal. I sit on the Board of Regents for the National Recreation and Park Association. So I truly understand this, how important and how remarkable it is that you're doing this.
And so the benefit of being the first or anytime achiever is that you have some structure throughout the organization and plans. There's no other perks that come with it from the state or anything?
Nope. You are the first. Monica is leading the charge. If it weren't for Monica, this would not be happening.
Thanks, Ann, for patting my back so much here.
Oh, that's true. I mean, how many years? Capra's been around for decades and decades, and Pennsylvania's been around for a long time too. Never the twain has met. It's very impressive.
Well, I think that if it's everything that you're describing it as, and in terms of prestige, then that seems to me like it's a marketing tool for not just Park and Rec in Lower Makefield, but for the township in general. I mean, if it really is that big a deal, then it really just makes our community, there's one more great thing about this community that people around the area should know.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Okay. Let's see. Let's move to Michael. What makes you want to participate in this plan?
You've got two Michaels, so you have to pick
Oh,
one
sorry.
of them.
Oh, I am sorry. Let's go with Mr. Blundy.
Good choice.
Well, I'm just excited to make Lower Makefield an even better place to live, work, and play. So, that's my motivation.
Great. Awesome. Let's see. How about Michael Brody?
Hello. I think Capra is specific. I'd say, I've worked with Monica a while. I know it's near and dear to her heart, so I'm happy to see it come to fruition for her. So congratulations, Monica, because I know this is something you've wanted for a long time and talked about a lot. Me personally, I like to be involved. I like to help get things done. And in terms of the township and all the different needs of the township, I guess my personal interests are more aligned with Park and Rec than anything related to sewers or stuff like that. So I find like this is a good place for me to interact, and I use a lot of the facilities across the board. So.
Great. Okay, let me see.
I'll go next, Ann, since my name's not up on the board, but I'm the one sitting in the township building. But I've been a longtime resident here, and my family has benefited a lot from the facilities that the township has offered over the last 25 years. And Monica's done a fantastic job in the last, I forget how long she's been here. It's already I don't know how many years, but we've seen even further growth in terms of the programming that she's put in place. But I think we're at a crossroads. We've got an opportunity as where we are today to expand and continue to provide more diverse activities and continue to increase and improve the parks that are in place. So I think we've seen what we can do, and I think we've got this tremendous opportunity to build a new plan for the next 10 to 20 years moving forward. So I'm excited to be part of that.
Great. Oh, that's not, what? I'm sorry, but I didn't catch your name.
Sure. I'm Doug Krause.
Oh, Doug. Okay.
We know where Doug's camera went. I think Doug's camera might have gone out.
No, I still see him.
Oh, you do? I don't see him.
I'm here. See, there you
go. Okay.
Monica, remember?
Oh, there, I see you. Oh.
I forget that I see something different than what's up on the TV screen. I apologize.
Okay, let me see. That's the audience cam. John.
No, you've left Mike Brody or James McCartney.
Oh, okay. How about James?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for letting me be here.
Good. Yeah. So I guess for me, the biggest takeaway from this is the years of work that Monica has put into getting this accreditation done. Seeing how it's going to impact the future of Parks and Recs for the township. It seems like it's going to be an attribute and basically, once again, Lower Makefield setting the trend for, being on the forefront of having, such programs versus the other townships. So I'm thrilled about that.
Oh, great. You are on the forefront, that's for sure. Did I get everybody now?
I didn't really give you a comment. You got Mike Brody, but I didn't give you a comment on.
Oh, Dennis, please give me a comment.
I just wanted to be clear. So, Ann, when you asked us at the beginning why we're interested in working on this plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure what plan you're talking about. So are you talking about a 10-year park and rec plan? Are you talking about a CAPRA program? What specifically are you asking about?
I was asking about your Parks and Recreation plan. Okay. The purpose of the Parks and Recreation plan will be how to improve the quality of life in Lower Makefield through Parks and Recreation over the next 10 years and beyond. You won't get everything in 10 years.
So I have a very similar comment to what Michael Blundy offered earlier. It's just, I think and I probably speak for a lot of us who are already on this committee, that we do this because we want to make sure the Park and Rec the area under Park and Rec's control or its domain is really serving the community as best as it can. All in the interest of, as I think stealing Michael's words, making Lower Makefield a better place to live and play and recreate.
Great. Okay.
And can I add something real quick?
Absolutely.
Another big positive of CAPRA, which may have been missed in discussion, is accountability. The accrediting body holds us accountable for being top notch and the best. So we will continue to be the best. We are accountable to the accrediting agency. We have to do reports, go through this process. I believe, Ann, please remind me, is it every 5 or 7?
Every 5 years.
Yeah, so every 5 years we have to resubmit all these documents and make sure that we're renewing everything and reviewing everything. And they look back at that and they expect you to get better and hit more marks each time. So there's a huge piece of accountability here where we can't falter. We have to not only meet the needs of the CAPRA accreditation, but we have to continue to meet the need over time. Mm-hmm. So that's another big piece of this, making sure that our parks, that we're worthy of moving in, that we improve housing values, and people want to be here because of our park system.
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely. People do move to your township because of your park system. I know that. That's absolutely true. So a little bit about me, I just didn't fall in off the sidewalk here, is that I do parks and recreation planning for a living. My actual first job was scraping bubble gum off pool decks. So maintenance has always been my real true passion in parks and recreation. I was the parks and recreation director, like Monica is, for Warminster Township. And I went on to the National Park Service, where I managed their planning program like this for the 14 northeastern states and the District of Columbia. Since going out, I left there when my daughter came along, and people started asking me to do projects like this. That was 30 years ago. And your project, your original plan was one of my first projects. But the reason I don't advertise, I just do, it's kind of word of mouth. I'm really interested in implementation. That's what I'm mostly focused on. You may be familiar with some close to home work that we've done. We did the Bucks County Bicycle Plan. Recently, we did the master plan for Washington Crossing State Park that won a national award. And we did some work you might be interested in actually looking at in Warrington Township. We've been doing their parks and recreation planning, and we designed Lions Pride Park. It's on Facebook. You could Google it. The American Planning Association just named it as one of Pennsylvania's 5 great outdoor spaces. It's a very cool playground. We designed it with kids. We didn't go picking equipment out of catalogs. It's all based on how kids really play and how families interact. So, and we got some good funding for that through local fundraising. We actually taught local people how to do fundraising, and so far they've raised over $2 million. We write a lot of grants. We just got 2 big grants funded for a community in Chester County, Westtown Township. We got a $1.5 million land and water conservation grant and a $250,000 DCED grant to do a park renovation that we did the master plan for. So that just goes to show that we get stuff done. That's what we're really interested in. We're just coming off a year of managing Delaware County's open space parks and trail program, where we set up the whole organization for Delaware County with a bond issue, with how the departments all work together. And we had, by the time we finished, 46 of the 49 municipalities were all participating, and 3/4 of them were doing plans just like this. So it's pretty exciting. I get really jazzed when we talk about getting stuff done. So I was delighted to hear all of you talk about why you want to be on this, because that's your reason. You want to get stuff done and make Lower Makefield better. So does anybody want to add any comments or before we go to the next part of this?
Just a question, Ann.
Any questions?
Yeah,
go for it. Sure.
So does CAPRA accreditation bring along with it any impact for things like grant applications? Either way, like for example, because you're CAPRA accredited, would that give you a leg up on grant approvals, or could it maybe have a detrimental effect where you're already like top of the class, you don't get first choice at these grants and we give it to others that are up and coming, or no impact?
Oh, it would never hurt you. No, it can only benefit you. It will very strongly benefit you in state funding with DCNR especially. DCNR and the Pennsylvania Park and Rec Society are going to be trotting you out as examples of this is what we would like you to be. We do pride ourselves on helping departments get there. We did the planning for East Goshen Township, and East Goshen is the only municipality in Pennsylvania so far that has been a finalist in the NRPA Gold Medal Awards. They've been there for the past 3 years. I keep hoping the next year is going to be the big win, but I mean, it's very prestigious. And this is a kind of a really neat, weird thing. But when you have that kind of status, like Capra status or Gold Medal Award winning finalist, that people want to invest in you, that we find that people want, like businesses out there, they want to invest in winners. They want to, they don't want to subsidize, poor quality things when you are out there leading the pack. And somebody on here mentioned the marketing tool. I think it was you, Dennis, said about marketing, that it is a marketing tool. This will help you in fundraising because the trends in parks and recreation is alliances with healthcare. And we're going to be looking at that in our planning process because, as some of you may know, hospitals have to do a community needs assessment. And we would like to explore that partnership because it's a good source of money and volunteers. So hospitals and healthcare providers want to invest in highly professional places because they know it's not charity. It's business, and they want to know you'll take care of their money.
Good. So Monica, all those examples you gave us of the Capra documents, those were not Pennsylvania examples, or they never finished the process?
No, they were all over the country examples.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. We will be the very first in Pennsylvania. We are ripping off the Band-Aid here. Lower Makefield Township is a leader. So it's very exciting.
It is. I like personally, like I have this kind of personal mission to be involved in creating the greatest park system in the United States with all these partners. And what I see you doing with that is if Monica did this, well, then I want to do that too. That's going to be the way of thinking of many professionals throughout, especially in southeastern Pennsylvania, because we really are the hotbed of parks and recreation in the state. So you're going to see your power and influence in this. You'll make things change. It's important. So.
Yeah, that is the hope.
Yeah, it is.
So, Anne, do you want to talk a little bit about the process and where we're at in the process with the board?
Yep. Okay. So this, as we mentioned earlier, this is really fast track. And I want to start with the point that this whole process is based on community engagement. That's where all our good plans come from, is from community engagement. Is that I don't sit in my little office here and cut and copy and paste stuff, that everything is really tailored for you. If you want to see an example of a very current plan that yours would be analogous to, you could go on Media Borough's website. Our plan is on that website that we completed and was adopted right before Christmas. It was adopted, so you could see what that looks like. We pretty much we look at everything, but it's really rooted in public engagement. And so to kick it off, you all are key. You are our eyes and ears. We really depend on you. We're really hoping that we have lively discussions and engagement with you. We're not looking for group think. We're looking for even the brave soul that will stand up, be the 10th voice when 9 other people think one thing, the 10th person might think the opposite. We look for that because you bring ideas and we bring ideas, and together we work through them to develop the vision that we want for Lower Makefield Township. So on the public engagement, you're the most important part of public engagement because you are our collaborators. We have a public opinion survey out on the street now, which you know. Has anybody taken it? Anybody completed the survey? All right. So we're closing in on 1,500. And I have to laugh because every time we hit a benchmark, Monica raises it. I guess you're not surprised about that. But I'm sure we're about 200 away from 1,500 now. And I think when we get to 1,500, we might be thinking about 2,000. Which would be a very, very, very good return. If it were statistically valid and reliable, the statistics would tell us that we only need 349 to have 95% confidence in the survey with only a 5% margin of error. This is not statistically valid and reliable because it's not a random sample. Anybody and his brother can fill this out and we would welcome that. But it just goes to show you that this return is very significant. When you see the results, we did a similar survey over in Whitpain Township, and we had over 81,000 data points as a result of that survey. Now, we're not going to make you wade through all of those. We do the synthesis and analysis of it, but you'll have pages and pages and pages of comments that you can use as a reference. And I'd be confident in using those for the next 3 years anyway, bar some national event like COVID, you know, that kind of changes everything, but it will serve you well. What we find in those comments is sometimes we get gems of ideas that we never even thought of from the most unusual places. So we place a high value on the comments that we get in that survey. And as you know from taking the survey, there's plenty of opportunities using the bubbles, little comment bubbles, to add whatever you want to say in there. So we take these very seriously. We take them to heart. And we're going to be doing some cross tabulations in that. It's not just the community as a whole, but we can look at how this age group answered questions, how people who just moved to the township answered versus lifelong residents. So there's gender. We could look at how people answered gender questions. So I'm sorry, how different genders ask questions. So there are lots of ways we could manipulate the data to arm you so you could make informed decisions. And that is the goal. And you all said that. You want to make the community work. So you want to pay attention to what people are saying. The other things that we're doing are interviews. We'll be interviewing you, and that was one of our homework assignments, to ask who should we interview. I spent yesterday in the township with the planning department, looking at interviewing to see how we fit in, because we do have an understanding here, thorough understanding, that we're not out there by ourselves in Park and Rec, that we need to be part of the big picture of Lower Makefield Township. And ultimately our goal, and somebody mentioned this in the homework, is ultimately our goal is to make sure that the township understands that Parks and Recreation is an essential service, that it's not Parks and Recreation are nice to have if you can afford it. but we work really hard at demonstrating the benefits. I know we're going to have a section in there on the benefits. An example is something we recently did for a county parks and recreation department. This county has a really good concert series. So what we did was take advantage of the thousands of people that attend those concerts, and we put up little banners for 10 days of the concert series with little QR codes, and just like we all do in restaurants, hold up our smartphone on the QR code, and we had them answer 5 questions. And what we were asking was, what did they spend on food before or after the concert, or on food to bring to the concerts? And then we had our economists crunch some numbers, and we found that for every concert this county offered, there was a local economic impact of $50,250. So over the series of the concert for this summer, even in down COVID, that there was a benefit to the community of over $2 million because of what people spent in line with going to that concert. And you think about it yourself, when you go to a movie or a ball game, you're going to get pizza and a beer, or ice cream, or something. So we try to translate the value of what you do into the reality, so that your budget becomes an investment, not a cost, and you're not fighting every year to get what you need. So that is really important. The other thing is, we'll be doing a couple of public meetings, the first one on February 3rd, and we want to figure out how to keep the Board of Supervisors fully informed throughout this process, because they will be the ones that will they'll be the deciders on implementation. So we want to make sure that we're in line with that. So all of that public involvement, the community survey, the interviews, the focus groups. We're doing a sports focus group. What day is that, Monica?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I forget. It's in January, though. It's what's coming up. We're doing a sports focus group. Today we talked about maybe an open space environmental group, and we'll probably do something with kids. That we have a full deck for our community involvement. Anybody have any questions on public involvement or ideas, suggestions?
Your first one's February 3rd, and then is the second one already scheduled? I know people like to put these on their calendar. So Monica, I don't know how this is being communicated or when to the public.
Well, it's just league heads, the second one. It's only for league heads, and they have been invited.
Oh, I thought she said there was 2 public comment meetings, one February 3rd, but she didn't mention a second date.
The second one is a league meeting only for league heads.
Okay.
Yeah, but we will have a public meeting. We will have a second public meeting. And what I'm hearing you say is pick the date now so people could put it on their calendar. Is that right?
Yeah, I was just curious if the February 3rd one's been released to the public, just so people can understand what dates they have. Because if they can't make the first one, they know there's a second one, so they can pick and choose.
The February 3rd date has been approved and has been put out there. The second date has not yet. I have to get that approved with in the meeting schedule.
I mean, do we have a Mike from YMS wasn't aware of the February 3rd date, the public one? It's not a sport. That's not the sports league one. It's just the public.
Yeah, that's not the sport. That's the public one. Yes.
Yeah. So
there was email communication. It went out social media. That went out publicly. I didn't send that specifically to the leagues. That was
just a recommendation. If people need to mark their calendars, they know they have the first one and here's the second one, so they don't want to.
I will work on getting the second date set, but I can't set it tonight without knowing the schedule.
That's understandable. And then the follow-up question. So, Ann, I know you talked about getting in front of the supervisors in March, right? So just from a timeline perspective, the first public meeting's in February 3rd, and then there's going to be a second one. You know, I didn't know what date, when you were in March. So obviously we have and Monica, was the plan to get a preliminary report to our committee prior to Board of Supervisors, so just knowing that we meet only on the second Tuesday of every month. So just want to make sure that,
Yeah, we would have to do the second meeting also in February. It would have to be at the end of February in order to meet the timeline.
but just from Ann's perspective, then knowing that if we're going to review the preliminary plan that's going to get presented, that would be the second Tuesday in March, if we're going to present to the Board of Supervisors sometime in March, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
the goal would be to present to the Board of Supervisors sometime in March. Yes, so we would make sure that time it around the second Tuesday meetings in order to present to them their second meeting in March.
Mhm.
Okay.
Second Tuesday, right?
Ours is the first Tuesday, theirs is the second Wednesday.
When did the
Or
supervisor?
the third
We're
Wednesday.
the second Tuesday of the month. So
They're the third Wednesday would be Board of Supervisor.
I'm hearing two different ones. Is it the third Wednesday? Is that right?
The third Wednesday is the Board of Supervisor meeting.
Okay. Got it.
The first Tuesday or second Tuesday is the Park and Rec Board meeting.
Okay.
So we would need a plan, and to the Board of Supervisors, a preliminary plan to the Park and Rec Board
Mhm.
early. So if you really want to do a second full public meeting,
Mhm.
you have to do them in quick succession.
Yeah, we would, and that's possible. We just did that in media. That is possible to do that. I'm going to put something out here that you all need to think about and work on, because you have an advisory committee for the plan and you have a Park and Rec board, and they're two different boards, and you have to say this is funded by DCNR. What DCNR would want, and they're kind of like the granddaddy of them all in setting the rules for things like this, is that they want an advisory committee that is not a Park and Rec board, but includes Park and Rec board members, maybe not the whole contingent, but some of them, but with other members. Somebody from high school, a senior adult, special needs, conservation, fitness, maybe financing, maybe marketing. I mean, whatever works for the community. But with your two boards and this fast track, you will have to think about what the process is for recommending whatever recommendations or plan, whatever instruments are to go forward, how that's going to work. Sometimes what we've done is we actually ask the advisory committee or the Park and Rec board to come to a meeting of either the advisory committee or the Park and Rec board, so everybody's around the table together. I can't overstate how important it is to figure this out. We have a project that was over in Chester County that's now more than 2 years old. And what happened on that project was that the Park and Rec board and the Plan Advisory Committee were not collaborating, and it became very difficult. So I would urge you to think about this, how you would like this to work.
Monica, who is presently on our Plan Advisory Committee?
Oh, let me pull up my list. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Well, she's looking now on that other plan. I haven't worked on it in more than a year because they were, we were done. We're finished. It's a very good plan. And they're just deciding about, they've been deciding about who's going to recommend what. It's tough.
And is there one survey, or was the survey that Monica asked us to fill out before this meeting the same one or is it different from the one that's public survey?
Oh, much different. The public survey is really cool. It asks, there's 5 screens that ask a variety of questions. We can send you the link. I think the link's on your website, isn't it, Monica?
Yeah,
Yes, I sent you guys the link too. It's
Yeah.
that big interactive survey. So I'll read you off the names of everybody just so you know who's been in our meetings. Parish Barilla, Daniel Stenson, Gordon Workman, Noel Cottaspati, George Schlieben, Kim Rhodes, and Danielle Frost have all been included in all the emails. Not everybody has been to a meeting. We only really had one meeting and a bunch of email interaction. So
Do they represent the level of diversity that Ann was suggesting we have on that?
yeah,
advisory
we have someone from the community who's not really involved with sports. We have Parish, he's part of the Indian community, and he does the
That's
Was
fine.
he the
as long as
cricket
it's-
guy?
what?
Was he one of the guys that was pitching cricket?
Cricket, yep. And we have football, soccer, baseball, softball, Girl Scouts represented. So I did ask others to participate and not, Kim Rhodes also I missed too. But I asked others to be involved. However, their schedules wouldn't allow it or whatever. So that's who could be involved.
One more question for Ann, if I could.
Yeah, go for it. That's why I'm here.
All the ways you said you could cut or manipulate the survey results to give us different views on things, including different demographics. Since this plan has its actions in the future, do you do any projections on what the demographic forecast would be for that time period over the next 10 years? So we plan for the right demographic, as opposed to saying, hey, this group of people put all the survey stuff in, but they're not going to be the predominant makeup of the community 10 years from now.
We do look at trends. Trends are very, very important. And I'm really anxious to see when the United States Census results will be out. And we work closely with the County Planning Commission on demographics. And we also we don't do only the traditional demographics. We do, do you know of a tapestry? I don't know if people know what a tapestry is. What a tapestry is a lifestyle analysis where, that demographics, people of certain ages do these things, but actually in society now, age is sometimes irrelevant or less important as your lifestyle, what your lifestyle is. So there's 64 different lifestyle categories, and what they come from is from demographic information, but it comes from spending, memberships, publications, subscriptions, things like that, so that what comes out to is a lifestyle, and there usually are 3 in a community. So we're able to say, well, yeah, these are your generic demographics, but this is how your community actually behaves, what they're interested in, what they spend their money on for leisure, things like that. And that is very meaningful. We'll be producing that soon. It's actually really interesting. You'll find it fascinating. Michael.
I had a couple of thoughts. One, in terms of like the groups that you're meeting with in a private setting, I would consider potentially having a meeting with the environmental committee.
Yes, the EAC.
Yeah, because I think even though don't think it's necessarily a fair description, I think if the perception for people who may not want sports fields, as an example, view Park and Rec more aligned with sports fields, then I think conversely, so I think maybe that could sort of play that to make it look better in terms of and even a fair assessment. That was one thought that I had. Also, I will say that although I think 1,500 is like a lot out of the gate, I'm personally concerned from what I've seen. I'd like to see a much wider attempt at distributing. We have tons of email lists between all of our different programming that we offer, and I'd like to see a much heavier. When I look at going back to like a big Park and Rec issue, the snipes issue, when I look at the change.org, which is just grassroots operation to get people to sign up and support the fields, they had 1,000 people sign that petition. So to see that, like, the township, with our township resources, and, we obviously have huge lists between the pool and all of our different things that we have. I personally would like to see a much bigger push, or at least I don't know how big of a push, but I'd like to know that we're making a bigger push than just posting on, like, I saw it definitely posted on, like, some of the more community oriented pages, but not some of the ones that kind of lean towards other political sides. And I guess I'd like to see a more broad distribution to try to hit way more of our constituents than from what I personally have seen currently.
Well, Mike, just to follow up on that, I send it out to our entire township, every list on our township, which is almost 7,000 people. People have to do it.
That's very fair. That's very fair. I personally saw it on a Facebook page. Honestly, I get thousands of emails, but that's fair, Monica. I just wanted to make sure that we were doing that way. So that's awesome.
So we'll do a couple of those emailing. So there was an emailing and an email to non-openers. I've posted it twice a week on all of our social media accounts. Now it will be up to groups to share it onto outside groups, because the township puts out the information. If you want to see it shared on you're gonna have to do that. Other people are gonna have to do that. I can only go so far. And we sent out the email. We'll have a couple more follow-up emails go out to the groups. And then as people register for the pool too, we'll send more out. And then in each park that's currently active, we kind of went out to active parks. We have signs up with QR codes so people can take it. I made an announcement to the seniors during their Christmas or holiday luncheon, and I showed them how to participate and how we could help them participate in the survey. So I really wanted to make sure that people are involved. And then every community leader that I could think of that would be able to, or any league head or whatever, I sent them to them individually. So, it's out there. It's just a matter of people actually following up and taking the survey. I agree with you. I'd love to see 6,000 responses. But
when's the deadline again for the completion of the survey, Ann or Monica?
We don't have a deadline. We actually don't post a deadline. Survey research shows that if you post a deadline, people put it off. That what we ask is fill it out right away. It only takes, I track it. It only takes 6 minutes to fill it out.
I guess my point is, so we've reached, let's say, a number, and we've, maybe it's not high enough, but at some point you're going to have to close it out. But if at some point you're going to have to tell people this is your last chance to submit the survey, that might get people motivated. So I'm just curious what that end date is, because yes, now it's out there and people, don't know that, oh, I better do it now because I only have till Tuesday, right? So maybe as we get closer to when your drop dead date is, that would be included in the communication, because that might motivate people to fill it out.
So we had talked about doing a cutoff of the 31st to be included in the into the plan, but we still wanted to see what people were saying.
Yeah.
After that, you know what I mean? We didn't want to not listen to people after that.
Yeah. We could analyze. Yeah,
but I think the survey is one method of way people can provide input. Then you'll also tell them, hey, if you didn't get to fill out the survey, we're going to have public forum on this date and this date. So don't, I just want to make sure that people understand they have various methods of getting their input heard. As long as they know that it's not just one, like, hey, if you didn't fill out the survey, you don't have an opportunity to provide input. But I think giving people that option, right? Because some people may not show up. So if you can't attend this meeting, here's your opportunity to submit your feedback. So any way to encourage people to Michael's point, to get the numbers up would be fantastic. Because again, knowing that it's not specific to LMT residents, it could be 1,500, but 1,000 of those people could be from, cousins, brothers, uncles that are, not from our township. So
we do ask residency in here. Well, you're depending on people's integrity and answering it honestly, but predominantly, I think we're over 95% residents. I monitor it, so we're doing good on residency.
That's good to know.
I do find in Bucks County, though, people don't know what township they live in half the time.
So it's all right for like the leagues and then all the different organizations to like promote it to their organizations to get people to
Yes.
sign up, so we can really build that up. So like,
I
you know,
believe
so
they
then,
already have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, cool. All right,
Yeah.
great. So then, for any leagues that are listening, that's a great idea to
Yeah.
promote that
Yeah.
amongst your people.
Definitely. Michael, I want to address another really, really, really important point that you made about the EAC and environmental and conservation. Monica and I had a big discussion about this today, and I spent the day yesterday in the township addressing this, is that we're technically doing a parks and recreation plan, but open space and conservation is tight at the hip with this. It's just critically important. Like the last time we did a plan, I mentioned it was heavily oriented towards open space conservation because in the 90s, you know what happened in your community. We were really worried about land really, really disappearing, but you have a significant amount of land left. And we want to protect that. So we're not doing a full-blown open space plan, but I have no doubt that we will be making a recommendation that you update your open space plan. But there are some very important considerations in open space conservation, and it would be remiss in a parks and recreation plan not to include the discussion of that. It's really important.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think this town has a unique blend of extremes. So I'm actually from the media area. I'm from Balkenwood, so I know that area well.
Yeah.
And while I would say that both towns are purple,
Yeah.
it's much more extreme out here in terms of the different sides. Whereas down there, it's a little bit more of an actual blended, probably because of its closeness to the city. But but the concern I see, and you can even just read it on social media, is that the general view from a conservationist in this area is that conservation requires trees and natural habitat, and that fields don't do anything in terms of water retention. You know, that fields are not, and I hold true that conservation is conservation and open space is open space, and fields are considered open space. So like I'm just trying to be cognizant of the issues that ran into 4 years ago when we did this exact same thing to try to find out where we could move forward. And so I'm just trying to be because I'm sitting here, and I guarantee that I will be pushing all the people that I know through all of my sports teams to make sure that they pick and choose a side and that they answer this survey to say what they want. I also want to make it very clear that I think that, you know, the people who are support rehabbing the farms are seeing this survey, and that the people who are think that their houses across from Edgewood or in Edgewood Village, that they should be redone, that they know that they should reach out to their people. And I'm just trying to keep it across the board that, like, I want this to be the last time that we have these discussions about what fields need to be built, what trees need to be planted, what pastures, you know, and that like everybody's included. Nobody can feel left out, and then the chips fall where they are. So, you know, this is unfortunately, Dennis and Doug, they've been through this, and David, they've been through this more times than they care to remember. As my first time through, and, you know, and I'll speak for Mike Blundy and Rob and Kim and all of us first timers. Like, I think it behooves us to make sure that, like, nobody can come to the table and say that again. Not that I think that, like, you guys left it that way, but I'm just ensuring that this time it's not. So that's where my speaking's coming from. And Dennis, I feel you. I know that we had tons and tons and tons of discussion that time too, but I just wasn't on the board then. So that's.
I just wouldn't hold your breath, Mike, that's going to be the end of things when it's done.
I know. But at least that's in a public forum, it's publicly stated out in the open that every single person, so Luke Butlers of the world, anybody who posts about this, make sure everybody knows to fill out that survey. That's why.
That would be awesome. That's awesome.
And just to follow up, Mike, if you do not know how to do it, you can come to the community center and fill it out, and we will make sure that you're in it, and if you need assistance, we're here for you. So during open hours, 8 until 4:30, Monday through Friday, we are here. If you are not internet savvy, we will help you navigate. We won't answer things for you, but we
Are
will
you
help
asking Mike to come in? Are you asking Brody to come in and make an appointment to fill out a survey?
Brody is technologically savvy. I'm anticipating that he has already done.
Well, I
So,
just heard yesterday somebody's 88 and 90-year-old parents both filled it out and loved it, had no problem.
Oh, well, that's good. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate you coming in tonight and giving us an update. Does anybody else, Dennis, Michael, have any additional questions for Ann or anybody that's in attendance? Go ahead. Yes, we have one hand up here, Monica, and so come on up and state your name and where you live, and it should be on.
No.
Talk loud. We'll be.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I got
Mike
you.
Hansen, YMS Soccer, 13 Houston Road, Yardley, Pennsylvania. And thank you for a wonderful presentation. Seems like you have tremendous breadth of experience. Questions I had, you talked about digging into these various different analytics. So in the final report, will those be available just for the government, or will they be available in the report for the public to review?
Everything we do is totally transparent. We love when everybody gets interested in it. So what we do on the plans is that we realize that we all operate by bytes anymore. So we try to make our plan very succinct, and this is what the plan is. But then we have a series of appendices where everything's in that plan, And you may know that I didn't mention it to the group, but we did a sports survey too before the forum. We'd like to have the numbers so that we document this is what the demand is. This is what the participation level is in this community. I looked at yours so far. You all added 1,000 players in 2 years. That's huge.
Great news.
Yeah.
And my next question is, so if I went through the schedule correctly, so maybe it sounds like we're looking at a soft deadline for the end of the survey being the 31st of January. Maybe people can still provide input.
Yeah.
And then there is going to be a community meeting, which I looked on the website, which is listed as a community workshop apparently. So that's on the 3rd of February.
Right.
And that'll be a hybrid meeting, so people can come here and people can do it online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, we decided to run it as a supervisors meeting. Remember?
But yeah, it's hybrid. So it's like this, Ann. Like.
Okay. Oh, very good. I got it. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Okay.
And then I wrote down here that that the recommendations would be presented to the Board of Supervisors in March. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I guess, God bless you if you're going to take all the results of the survey and the meeting and put that together in the recommendations. But is that's your normal schedule to turn that around in 3 weeks?
Not even close.
Okay, so.
But why we're able to do that is because of the work that Monica has done. Monica has done an extensive amount of work that we would normally do in a planning process for a project like this. So that, the cost of this project and the scope of work is very much compressed to what it normally is. But it's because of the work that the township already has. So what we're really depending on here is public input and the use of documentation that has already been developed. Interviewing with key stakeholders. Like yesterday, I was in with planning. I'll be meeting with the township manager. We'll be interviewing each of the supervisors, and we have a bunch of other interviews to do. So because of the work that's been done and what our orientation is, a largely public involvement, and our experience in doing these plans, we can really compress this.
Well, I guess if we're doing a 10-year strategic plan, why do we need to compress it, number one? And two, I find it disturbing that we're going to compress the part where all the public information is being given and solicited, and we're basically just using the information that was already garnered by Monica and her staff to build the. It sounds to me like the bulk of the report. That doesn't seem logical to me.
Just to
Well,
make
the
it feel a
logic.
little- Ann, can I step in here for a
Yeah,
second?
yeah, go for it.
Just so we did do a needs assessment before, that will be part of this. So we did the sports needs assessment. We know that we need fields. We already
Okay.
have that information. So that needs assessment was done. There were a few other assessments that were already done in the community that we will be using. There was a field assessment, a light assessment. There were some plans that were done before. We're able to use all that background information to consolidate all of the things that we've done into one strategic plan. The big missing piece that we had before was a real opportunity for community needs assessment. So for 2 months, we're pounding and we're working to get that survey results, to get open forums. Now you got to remember, we already did the pool open forum, we did the pool assessment. So, there are different things that we've already done to get feedback. So this isn't as rushed as you may think. I mean, we've been doing this since 2018, really, but this is kind of the grand finale, the culmination of pulling all the information together to create this plan.
All right, well, I guess, my advice as a resident would be, if it is a 10-year strategic plan, waiting to present to the Board of Supervisors in April probably wouldn't break the schedule, so.
Well, it does
Just
a
a
little
thought.
bit because my information is due to CAPRA for the accreditation by April 11th. So I have to have the submittal of everything. So if something in the initial discussion with the board needs to be rewritten or redone, I'm still going to need to come back to the board
So
again.
the 10-year strategic plan for Parks and Recreation is being driven by this accreditation schedule?
Well, the accreditation is driving the actual whole needs assessment. I wouldn't have done this probably. I wasn't going through the accreditation process. I'm going to be quite frank with you. A lot of these plans and programs I probably wouldn't have done if we weren't going through this CAPRA process. So yeah, it's a huge driver of getting this done and making sure that we're doing things well as a township.
I'd like to
Just,
talk
I
a
guess
little bit
for-
about I would like to talk about the compression a little bit here, is that the reason that we're able to do this timeline is because we don't have to do the amount of work that we would do in a normal plan. We're really fortunate in being able to take this information that has been worked on since everything that Monica mentioned. If that hadn't been done, we'd need at least a year to do that. We don't have to do that. Where we are in a typical planning process is in the last 4 months of a typical planning process is exactly spent on what we're doing here, the public involvement and the strategy on where we go from here. So it all makes a lot of sense. And this township was really actually genius in doing it this way, because it made the best use of the resources and the funding that you have.
Right. Well, clearly I'm not an expert on this certification process, so I guess if that is a hard deadline and the whole strategic plan needs to be done before April 11th, I guess it is what it is. But I don't know, maybe I'll have to bone up more on that and see. Again, I don't know, it just seems to me like if we're, again, going through this process, and it was brought up before that, we want to have as many thousands of people fill out this survey again, so we don't have to have these discussions again. It seems like we're rushing into this presentation, my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments? None? Any other questions for Ann from the board?
Just one last comment from me. Or maybe it's a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So Ann, the survey that we did fill out, the board filled out, the 5 things, was that intended to be a trick question? The first one you asked us, which was name 5 things that we like or work well, because they could be 2 different things. I was scratching my head thinking like, I might like something like the pool, but maybe I don't think it's working well, but I didn't know how to really respond to it. So just.
That's okay. That's good. That's fair. That's pretty funny. I know I would never give you a trick question. I really would not. But I see your point. It is funny when I think of it that way. No. What we like to do is build on success. That's like the best way to get more success is to build on success. So that's why we ask what you like, what you think works well, what's working well, what you like there. Then we ask you.
Those might be 2 different questions, though. That's all I'm saying.
It could be, right? Yeah. We don't want you to think too deeply on this. We only wanted you to spend 10 minutes. So it gives me some sense of the positive features and the things that we really need to address.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for your thought on it. That was a thoughtful comment.
Great. So thank you again, Ann, for coming in tonight and giving the board and the public an update on the assessment. We look forward to seeing everything come together, and hopefully we can get to see you in person on the 3rd, if not sooner.
Right.
So thank you, Ann.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ann.
All right, Monica, we want to move to our favorite topic. Second favorite topic after the study is our pickleball and tennis at Memorial Park.
So pickleball and tennis we're looking at a spring opening for the courts. The project isn't quite done yet. Not ready to open it up, but we will be hopefully in the spring. As soon as we get some warm weather, we'll be good to finish some things off. So we're looking to open that up soon.
What's still outstanding?
I believe there's another coat of paint. We're waiting on some chair delivery and some other minor things, or benches. Benches aren't holding up anything really. It's more the completion of the painting and the finalizing of some things on the courts. So that's
is that applicable to both tennis and pickleball, or?
Yeah, it's everything. We'll open it all at once. So we'll open it all at once. What we do, I think one of the questions that the board we really need to consider is how we're going to incorporate meetup, or what I'm not going to call the meetup after tonight, hopefully, but the meetup group, or the people that use the courts through the Park and Rec department, how we're planning to use that and at what capacity, and with our current courts, how we plan to schedule things out. I'd like to talk to you about that a little bit tonight. Also, one of the big things that we're doing is we've experienced a lot of trouble with Meetup. If you don't know the app so much, it's an app that you can sign up individually and you can create a group, and there's a few leaders for the group who schedule out different opportunities to meet up together. David Malinowski is here. Hey, David. And so with that being said, this it hasn't worked well because we can't do anything to help users on the back end. If there's a problem with payment, or if there's some kind of bad interaction or a wrong scheduling mistake, or we can't help or do anything on our side. We can't even really charge appropriately. We've been doing a blended charge because we can't do a non-resident resident split. So we're planning on bringing the Meetup into Community Pass. Community Pass has a new feature that runs a lot like Meetup. You'll register to be a member, like a member of the pool. You'll pay resident or non-resident rate, and then you'll have certain access to be able to sign up for groups. We're working through some of the logistics. I'm not ready to really present you pictures of what it would look like and sign up and that type of thing, but it'll run a lot like Meetup, not quite the same, but there'll be waiting lists. You'll know if you're on the waiting list. So it's a really nice feature. I think it runs a lot easier, and it's on the same system that all of our other membership organizations are, the dog park, the pool, every program we run is all in Community Pass. Now this will be in Community Pass. It'll all be one account. You'll be able to see your account. You'll be able to see if you have money due or whatever. It doesn't matter. It'll all be in one one-stop shop. So we're working through that. And the development of this actually was because of COVID. So they developed this program because of COVID-19 and people having to sign up for certain different things. So it ended up working out for us in the end. You know, I guess there are some things that came out good from COVID-19, and this is one of them. So I'm looking forward to being able to tell you more about that as we're getting ready to launch it. But I do want to see take the temperature of the board to see if you want to move the scheduling and the meetup more prominently at Memorial Park, or do you want to split it in some way or use both? We do have a huge contingency of pickleball members. I think we're close to 180 right now. So using both it would probably be a big relief as far as scheduling, but we do like to leave some open time too. And I just wanted to kind of gauge how you're feeling.
One thought, Monica, might be if you're going to use both, just stagger the times so that if you're using the one park for meetup, that same time at the other one is free, and then you can schedule the other one for meetup an hour or two later and leave the other one free, just so there's always a free pickleball court.
I think the times are, in response to that, the times are difficult because there's no lights at either. So in the winter, the high demand times are all at the same time. So we could do that in certain cases. I just feel like we'd run into some problems there too. We really need about 80 pickleball courts in order to to be sufficient enough for the number of pickleball players. Lucky for us, Middletown is going to install 12 pickleball courts, which will take a little bit of the heat off of us, but that's not immediate. It's coming soon. So
I think the challenge is, since I'm part of the meetup group and play there occasionally, you've got new courts that will have permanent nets, so they're already up and ready for the community, whether it's the meetup group or public play. Then at the Cardinal courts, somebody will have to get, like if it's public, somebody either has to bring their own nets or they have to have the code to access the equipment to get them out, right? So, and then additionally, it's just by the sport, it's social in nature, so that sometimes they don't want to be split up. So if people might saddle, or straddle both, as we have an advanced group or intermediate group or beginner group, people might straddle both groups. So if you're like, well, I'm in one group, but then I got to go drive all the way over to the other side if I'm going to go play later. So the pickleball tends to be congregated on the same courts regardless of their ability, right? So right now we have groups that are set up by beginner, intermediate, advanced, and we play all the same place. So separating them out, that's typically not what happens. They just, schedule different times. So just keep that in mind when you think about, hey, if we're just going to do everything at Memorial Park, which is fine, then open play and free public time can be done at Cardinal, or schedule, if there's overflow and there needs to be additional events scheduled, maybe just beginners can do straight at Cardinal since they're new to the sport. That's would be my recommendation, would be if there's going to be new sessions with some instructors, maybe do that at Cardinal, just because it's it's easier there, and they're not going to be moving up to maybe intermediate or advanced. I know people that want to do public play are probably going to want some open time on the new courts as well, in all fairness. So
I know I was kind of thinking that beginner play would be great at Cardinal, because I think the more advanced players would really truly appreciate the new setup, but where someone who's learning wouldn't.
But most pickleball players will go anywhere they can play these days.
I have a feeling, yeah. So what's happening now is there are these sub meetup groups. So every time that I do not have scheduled through meetup, other sub meetup groups have been created. So anytime that's not scheduled, these subgroups are popping up here and there. So I have this whole nother issue happening.
Oh, I wouldn't call them sub meetups, but if I text 4 other people and say, let's go meet at Cardinal at 10 o'clock, because we know it's open play, then I just text, 6 other people and we go meet there.
That's not really what I mean, Doug. I mean, there's a whole nother meetup called Lower Makefield Township Beginners Meetup Group. And there's another meetup group called something else. I can't remember, but there's at least 2 others that popped up. The beginners group has about 180 people signed up for it that I just discovered. This is all brand new. So, and those people are somehow, they're not paying fees, or some of them probably are paying fees too, but there's these other subgroups now emerging.
Right, but they have if I was on the courts and they showed up at the courts, they don't have any rights to use the court. They'd have to wait an hour, just like any other else that came up, as a public group. So, granted, there's a meetup group. They don't have any privileges to the court.
They don't have privileges, but if someone from the public comes to play and there's a big group of people already there, it makes it much more difficult for them to play, because it seems as though they've been scheduled. So it's just like a whole nother ball game of managing these new subgroups.
So, go ahead. You can go, Dennis.
I was just going to ask Monica. I know we contemplated, but couldn't make a second dedicated section of pickleball over at Memorial Park because of the way the grant was submitted. But now that it's done and installed, could we possibly make one of the, like the court adjacent to the pickleball, a multi-purpose court?
I could see maybe doing repainting the lines doesn't really make sense right now, because we just had them painted. But I would say maybe suggest having another net set up, maybe where they can do some beginner stuff where they.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Other townships do that. They on a basketball court, they'll just put up a net and they'll play. So I don't think that's impossible. But I think it might be nice to have a couple nets out there just in the event that
something available to the public play, like Doug was referencing that, the public would be interested in playing on those courts, but also if there is a time that's scheduled for the meetup group and there was a possibility to set something up for beginners or whatever on the side, or personal, private play, then you'd have the ability to do that.
Yeah, you just need lines, and without lines, it doesn't really benefit to play on a court without appropriate lines. It'd be like any other sport if you try to play without football, without yard markers, or baseball without bases, or so.
Yeah, but you can play a pickup wiffle ball game in the middle of a grass field and still be able to play. If someone wants to play just a pickup game and all the other courts are full, you could still, conjure up a game. People do it, and I know that other townships have pop-up nets on courts that aren't painted. So if that's something we do for now, it might be a solution if there's a problem. But I do think that there is going to be eventually a problem. Until Middletown puts up their courts addition to us to give us a little bit of relief, I think we're going to continue to have be inundated.
I know Yardley, I know Pensbury Rackets added some more courts indoors. That's obviously indoors, so for the winter time. And then there's a new facility that's opening up in Ewing at the end of the month. It's Mercer Bucks Pickleball, which will have 9 indoor courts. It'll be the largest indoor courts in the Northeast. But, so in the winter time, those will work out once the weather gets nicer. Everybody wants to go outside.
So that's just some food for thought. I don't think we need to make a decision right yet, to be honest. I think
I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So, I've been a big proponent of allowing permitting over, or at least some degree of permitting over at Memorial Park, but largely we've said no to that beyond a little bit of football. So it seems odd that we would be contemplating doing permitting of this. Because that's essentially what it would be. So I'm just I don't think we decide this tonight, but the devil's advocate. I actually think it's a good idea to do meet up there for a lot of the reasons that Doug's saying, but like philosophically, like, you know, something's got to give on this concept of having types of fields that don't get used.
To be honest, Mike, if we don't put our group out there, other groups are going to form on their own. I just want you to think about that when it comes to this particular sport. They're going to groups or leagues or tournaments that they're going to do it on their own. So it's either my feeling is either we get on the ground floor and we organize it and set it up and structure it right, or it's going to take off on a mind of its own.
And maybe this doesn't fit for the sport, but like, why wouldn't you almost have it just like scheduled almost like a golf course schedules rounds? Like, why wouldn't you just like, if you're really having that big of an issue of it always being groups, then why don't you make it more scheduling of, you're scheduling a court for 4 people?
Well, because we don't have manpower to man it all the time. That's why these meetups run by volunteers is great. I agree with you, though. It could be managed like that, to be honest, but we just don't have that capacity.
And people usually play in groups. So like if there's 4 courts, you'll get up to 20 people will sign up for a session. So right, if you have 4 courts, that's 16 will play at a time, and you have 4 people sitting. So you have 20 people sign up. So that's how they sign up with the group, and then you just keep rotating through. So that's typically how it's run. So.
Okay.
So then how long would that session last typically?
Sessions are usually
like,
2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's easy for me to say I don't play the sport, but
I assume, Monica, like, I know on the tennis courts, right? We have, isn't there a rule that says, like, if you're there and there's someone waiting, you play for an hour and then you got to relinquish the court?
We don't have a rule like that in place for open play. We could do that. We could create, you know, we don't have signage out there yet. We could put together a lineup of rules of how we want to address them. We can change things. I mean, nothing's out there yet. So
I think, Dennis, it might have been an unwritten kind of historical rule, like, you know, hey, an hour, especially if somebody's waiting, then,
right,
you know, after an hour, you're kind of, it was more around the tennis courts, you know, relinquish the tennis courts.
Right.
I don't think it was, I don't know if it was ever written, but it was probably one of those unwritten, like, you know, make sure when you start.
Maybe it was Cork Creek or something, but I kind of vaguely recall that somewhere.
yeah,
I've seen that a lot at tennis courts.
I'll have to go back to our code book. I think there's actually rules because tennis was one of our first things in the code book. So it's against the law to not wear tennis shoes on the tennis court. So I think there are some tennis rules in the code book. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be there, but it is.
So is the chief going to install cameras to make sure?
I don't know, but we might want to reevaluate the codes at some point. Maybe that's something that we need to bring up, is to make some recommendations to the board to update some of the codes. That might be, maybe I send that out to the board and you all can start taking a look at maybe something that might be interesting to you. So some of the park and rec codes are outdated.
All right, so Monica, when the community pass site, I guess, is in a state where you can share, so we can kind of go in and just kind of, everybody has an opportunity to kind of just run through it, make sure that all the features work accordingly and are acceptable in terms of, you know, and maybe we can get a couple out to some of the pickleball leaders so that they feel comfortable with the sign up and the wait list and how that works. I think, you know, from a payment perspective, that all makes sense. And I understand giving you the ability to manage the back end piece of it. I think most of the people that are the players will want to just make sure that when they sign up, and if there's a wait list and notifications isn't a burden on you. Like, because I know some sites, you know, you sign up and you're put on a wait list, but you never know when someone's canceled, and then the person who's not going to show up has to call, and then it becomes more work for you guys, and that really is not the intent. So
no, it's not the intent. I'm actually hoping that it is a lot less work for us now, because it is, you know, we're really struggling to help people out on the back end. And I'm hoping that this makes it a little bit more user friendly. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of transition. I mean, people are going to have to get used to it. But I'd like to run a training for any of the volunteers who are participating so they could get to know this and they feel comfortable and we can all work through it together. So it is different on our end too. So we have to work through that, but we will likely start with just Cardinal Courts until I know a date for Memorial Park Courts, and we'll have to decide whether or not the board wants to and how they want to use for this program Memorial Park Courts.
All right.
So that might be next month.
All right. Thank you for the update. Liaison, we've got representatives here in person from PAA and YMS. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on the line, but Noel, do you want to give us an update?
Good evening, Noel Cataspati, 1908 South Crescent Boulevard. I'm the current commissioner for the Pensbury Athletic Association, which runs the baseball, softball, and magic programs for the township. We opened up registration for the spring season just before Christmas, so we're pretty excited about that. Registration will close February 15th, soft close. And so far we have more than 300 players registered across all three of our programs. This week, our travel programs have also started their in-house workouts at various locations around the area. So yeah, we're just gearing up for the start of the spring season, which hopefully will go off without a hitch. Anything that I don't know. Not much going on right now.
All quiet, all your cleanup was good and all the...
Cleanup was good. The nets are still down, so we don't have to worry about snow caving anything in. We are really hopeful for all the precipitation to come in the winter and hold off the spring. Yeah, so we can get all our tournaments. We did get word that we will be hosting the 8U baseball state tournament again, and the 8U and 10U regional softball tournaments for Babe Ruth.
Great, fantastic. Good for the township. Any questions from board members for Noel?
Well, how's that current rate of enrollment tracking to last year? You pretty happy with the 300 at this point, or is it ahead or behind?
You know, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I could say for the little amount of advertising we have done, it's an extraordinary number. We lost our social media director a few weeks into November, and that person was doing a phenomenal job, and they just stepped down. So it's probably one of the hardest jobs, I think, to get somebody to do is the social media. But I did take some of my time tonight to add some posts to our social media.
It was always field maintenance was the toughest.
You know what? Field maintenance, I think we have 2 field maintenance directors now, and you know, both at the softball and baseball fields throughout. Lots of volunteers, lots of organization, and so we are really, really happy about that. We will have some requests that we're going to bring to Monica once we have a list. We're trying to get ahead of it for the spring the spring season. I deal with a lot of college students, sorry, for the spring season to see what is possible from a township perspective, or things that we could possibly either do on our own or pay a contractor to do. And that project that was approved last year, I guess now, that was completed in August, the digging up of the Fred Allen fields has really, really helped in getting them ready quicker. Without the use of dry dirt than anything I've seen in the 7 or 8 years that I've been on the executive board. So it was really, I think, money well spent, and we appreciate the township's contribution to that project for us.
Glad we can do that and save games. I mean, that's at the end of the
Oh my gosh, we would have been
keeping from rescheduling or canceling is a win-win. So All right. Well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
out and sitting here. All right. We got Mike from YMS back up.
Mike Hansen back again, Vice President of YMS Soccer, 13 Houston Road. A couple things. We have started our winter indoor training at our indoor facility in Falls Township, which, would be available for overflow pickleball as needed. So, look us up. And I guess, we've been working outside some on the turf field. The season will start. A lot of the travel games start early March, actually. And then I did want to point out one bit of news. We did have a team play in the U.S. Youth Soccer National League Pro, which is kind of a feeder to the National Championship 2008 boys Celtic team. So they won that. So they will be going to the National Championships in July, which I can't remember exactly where it is, but we're very excited for them to go represent YMS in the township on the national level.
Great.
Great news.
Congrats.
Exciting. Any questions for Mike before he steps away? No? All right. Thank you. All right, Monica, your turn. Close us out.
Okay, let me just see what I had on the list.
You had Capra, budget, pool, and projects.
So fairly quick. We talked a lot about Capra today, so I don't want to bore you. We have been diligently working over the last year and a half of doing all of our entries. We have this huge document submittal that is due at the end of all of this with all of the things that we've been doing over the last year. So we're working on finalizing a lot of that submittal and associating the right documents and putting that in. We do have that self-assessment report is due on April 11th, which is a big day for us. So to hit that send will be very exciting. And then we have our visit, which will be virtual this year because of the COVID situation. So we're doing a virtual visit from the 20th of June to the 24th of June. So during that time, we have 4 different people that we'll be reporting to about the process. And I'll learn more about that and how the board might be involved or if they have to ask any questions or anything like that. So that will happen. That's kind of the next phase after submittal. And then at the conference this year is kind of when I present our whole Capra project and how everything went. And we find out whether we're officially Capra certified. So, and hopefully that's a yes. By then, I think we're by the time you go, we know confidently one way or another. But I'm feeling very good. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? All right. Budget was approved as we put it forward. No changes. So just wanted to make sure you knew that, along with the pool updates and pool fees. So we're right now working on making sure that on the back end that we enter all of our pool fees and all of our camp fees and everything, and make sure we're ready for registration, which will be at the end of this month. It will open. We're just working on that right now. So that's kind of the big thing for both budget and pool. Does anybody have any questions about budget or pool or any discussion? We will be hiring those 2 positions, the full-time year-round pool manager and the admin position.
How have the responses been? I know I've seen a lot of posts for job applications for the summer. So are people looking right now, or is it too soon?
The pool manager position, we haven't posted yet. The pool regular staff, we've had a good response, particularly with new people. And that's kind of the tendency. We get a lot of new people that apply early, and then a lot of our returners kind of straggle in, and we get, that group. So we're seeing a nice response so far. So that's good. The raise in pay is a good carrot. So that's working so far. We'll do interviews at the end of the month. We're also going to do a presentation in February to people who are considering maybe applying for the pool or for summer camp, kind of what that would look like for the parent, for the kid, expectations for interviews for a first job kind of thing. We give some guidance on what it's like to have a job and what we look for out of employees, out of interviewees. So we talk a little bit about that. It's more of an education. If anybody applying for a job for the first time might want to come to something that's like this, where this is pool specific or camp specific, but we do give some fun tips about, kind of what to expect, what you expect from employee expectations, what your role is as employee expectations, and that is your job, not your parents' job, and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a fun workshop. We started last year during COVID, and we're excited to continue it again this year. And I'll send all those dates out to you, as a timeline. So we have that going on for the pool too. And does anybody have any questions, pool or budget?
Are we trying to get rid of the hour gap this year?
That is the intent.
That'd be a top priority.
That would be, it's not the top priority, but it is definitely a high priority. There are other things that supersede it for sure, but it is definitely a high priority this year. I definitely would prefer, it'd be my preference not to have an hour gap.
And will bathrooms happen this year?
Excuse me?
And will am I forgetting something? Did we not? I felt like we didn't do some bathroom stuff that we were going to do last year.
We aren't, that wasn't on the agenda at all. In 2019, we were supposed to do some bathroom repairs. The bids came in too high, and we did the ventilation repair, which is a non-visible but exciting repair because we didn't have all the mildew and all that stuff in the humidity in the bathroom. So we did do that, and we did some minor prettying of the bathroom.
No, that's what I was referring to. Okay.
Yeah, so that was done. Unfortunately, it's not going to make a huge impact. That they are old. It is what it is. But the bids did come in too high. So big bathroom project is not wasn't on the horizon. Hopefully sometime soon. I know that as part of the needs assessment, we are hearing a lot about bathrooms in general across all the parks. So that's just a thing. That's that. Does anybody have any other questions about the pool? No? A project update. The big project that is the most exciting to me, believe it or not, is the community center doors are finally getting installed. We had been waiting with them on a ship since last June. They're here. And in the next 2 weeks, they should be installed and up and functional. So at least that's the last note I heard now. But things change. But I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, just like I was told, that's what's going to happen. But I'm very excited. It feels like we're at the finish line for those doors. So
finally be able to close the door on that project.
Yes, I like it. So I'm very excited about that. That's really it for projects. We did talk about Memorial Park already.
Thank you, Monica. Anything else from any other board members? Any new business they want to cover? If not, we'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
Motion to dismiss.
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Happy New Year.